Literary techniques amplification, which is a concept that includes within it Auxesis and Congeries. So the learning intention is to understand the definition of these three literary techniques. The success criteria is very straightforward. For you it will be I can understand these concepts and find examples in the text I am studying, which in turn will help your ability to make reference to literary techniques in a text response essay or any other type or form of assessment, which in turn will help you to refer to literary techniques in a text response essay or any other type of assessment you might be doing. Amplification refers to a literary practice wherein the writer embellishes the sentence by adding more information to it in order to increase its worth and understandability. So as we'll see once we get to the examples, this could be firstly when someone asks a character to rephrase something. So they might say, I'm a good person, and the judge, for example, says, can you give me more examples, more information? And then the person will amplify their response. But also it's just when an author chooses to really elaborate on a specific thing to really draw it out. So rather than just simply saying, there was a cat on the road, an amplification would be an entire paragraph describing that cat. And your interpretation of the amplification would be, why have they chosen to speak about this cat at such length, and how does that relate to the story? Why is it significant to the author? And so underneath amplification there are two other specific forms of amplification, the first being auxesis, and this is the Greek word for growth or increase. So it relates closely to hyperbole, exaggerating or overstating something. The pattern you're looking for if you're looking for auxesis is a series of clauses of increasing force. So something happened. It's serious. Someone has died. Mum is dead would be an example. You're starting with information and then finally the conclusion or the punchline is very powerful as a result. So auxesis is very structured in that it builds from least important to most. Whereas congeries is, as it says here, a disorderly collection or a jumble. It's most likely or most similar to an adjectival string. So you might say the cat, the fat, small, brown, one-eyed, three-legged, ugly, old, wrinkly cat. So this is a collection of adjectives or an adjectival phrase to add detail or to amplify a description of something. So this is an example of amplification from Philip Pullman's Northern Lights. She had seen a great deal of beauty in her short life, but it was Jordan College beauty, Oxford beauty, grand and stony and masculine. In Jordan College, much was magnificent, but nothing was pretty. In Mrs. Coulter's flat, everything was pretty. It was full of light, for the wide windows faced south, and the walls were covered in a delicate golden white striped wallpaper. Charming pictures in gilt frames, an antique looking glass, fanciful sconces bearing, and barrack lamps with frilled shades, and frills on the cushion too, and flowery valances over the curtain rail, and a soft green leaf pattern carpet underfoot, and every surface was covered, it seemed to Lyra's innocent eye, with pretty little china boxes and shepherdesses and harlequins of porcelain. So the key section I'll be highlighting here is the reference to Miss Coulter's flat. And so you can see how the information about a simple flat, which could remain as that, in Mrs. Coulter's flat everything was pretty, would be a standalone sentence that would be quite serviceable in the story. But then the detail is added, and the effect of this is that Lyra idolises Mrs. Coulter, and as a result her flat takes a place of specific significance to her in that it's sort of her secret feminine place as opposed to her public, more masculine persona she puts forward. So here's an example of auxesis from Northern Lights by Philip Pullman. She's the one who trapped us, most of us anyway, said Martha. They all talk about her, the other kids, when she comes. You know there's going to be kids disappearing. So the key part of this obviously is you know there's going to be kids disappearing, which refers to the real danger that the kids face. And the reason it's auxesis is because this child explaining this, Martha, is obviously very worried. So she's giving out only very small parts of information, building up to the most important thing, the climax or the conclusion, which is that she's worried that the woman she's describing is taking children away. So here are two examples of congeries, again from Philip Pullman's Northern Lights. Endless streets of little identical brick houses with gardens only big enough for a dustbin. Great gaunt factories behind wire fences, with one ambaric light glowing bleakly high up on a wall, and a night watchman snoozing by his brazier. Occasionally a dismal oratory, only distinguished from a warehouse by the crucifix outside. Secondly, Lyra's heart was thumping hard because something in the bear's presence made her feel close to coldness, danger, brutal power, but a power controlled by intelligence, and not a human intelligence, nothing like a human, because of course bears had no demons. So what you can notice about these two examples is that the adjectives and the describing words. So the pattern you can notice from these two examples is that the adjectives or the describing words seem to fall out of the writer's pen. They jumble. They're not ordered neatly. They fumble forward towards the end of the sentence. So the street description is really good in this sense that it's not just describing the street, it's also describing the people on it and sort of just random pieces of information that give you a sense of place of where you are within the street. And the best example from the Lyra section is coldness, danger, brutal power, but a power controlled by intelligence. And not a human being, nothing like a human, because of course bears had no demons. So these are just adjectives built upon each other, especially coldness, danger, brutal power is a really clear example of congruence. Your task is to find an example of each of these three literary techniques in the text you are studying and post it in the comment section below. So just keep in mind, for amplification, you're just looking for a paragraph of its own describing one simple thing. It could be a piece of clothing or a person's demeanour, whatever it is. You're looking for a big paragraph about one topic. For Auxesis, you're looking for usually a person concerned or under some sort of duress, and you're looking for them to be having things fall out of their mouth, finally culminating in something quite important, like this example here. For Congeries, you're looking for a large number of commas used to separate adjectives or a large adjectival phrase. Like these two examples here. So these are almost always descriptive sections. Auxesis is typically in dialogue, and amplification is, again, a large paragraph with many adjectives within it. So you're looking for complex sentences, lots of commas, lots of semicolons and colons, as there are in this section.